To lead global and domestic efforts to address climate change, the Government of Vanuatu, with the assistance of the Global Green Growth Institute, the Government of New Zealand, and the Government of France, is developing a long-term, low-emissions development strategy, or LEDS, to reduce emissions across all sectors in a way that supports resilient, sustainable, and equitable growth for its people. The LEDS help support action on climate change in line with the Paris Agreement, which came into force on November 4, 2016, with the aim of limiting global warming to below 2 degrees Celsius. Additionally, the Paris Agreement aims to strengthen the ability of countries to deal with the impacts of climate change.
Unless there are immediate, rapid, and large-scale reductions in the greenhouse gas emissions, limiting warming to near 1.5 degrees will be beyond reach.
As a long-term strategy to 2050, the Vanuatu LEDS identifies transformational investments for Vanuatu's climate-resilient future, as well as providing a framework for medium-term policies, strategies, and priorities. In the near term, the Vanuatu LEDS supports planning for green job creation and sustainable development that will help with COVID-19 recovery. The Vanuatu LEDS help support global action as many countries are producing long-term strategies in line with the Paris Agreement. These strategies create credibility that the Paris Agreement goals can be achieved. They increase global transparency and trust as each LEDS demonstrate that countries are working towards a common, low emissions and climate resilient future.
So in this LEDS initiative, it will help the Vanuatu as a country to develop strategies and policies in place to help to mitigate or reduce the carbon emissions as far as the Paris Agreement is concerned. And Vanuatu is a member and has ratified to the convention. And so Vanuatu is taking these steps to show to the world that even though it's a least developed country that is contributing less to the greenhouse gases, it will take the first step to find ways, strategies and policies. This message is a loud message to the richer country that they must also take the steps to address their carbon footprints, which is much more huge than the Vanuatu's contribution.
The Vanuatu LEDS complements and supports short and medium-term policies and strategies, such as Vanuatu's National Sustainable Development Plan and the nationally determined contributions to 2030. These plans target a 100% renewable electricity sector by 2030 and provide a pathway towards a 25% reduction in greenhouse gas emissions by 2030. Vanuatu is already in a favorable position to meet these goals because of the abundance of large native forest areas that act as a carbon sink. In the years before and after 2030, much investment will be required in renewable energy supply for Vanuatu. Investing in and developing renewable energy resources such as solar, wind, hydroelectric, geothermal, and copra oil will help the country to sustainably meet the development needs of its people, while supporting global efforts to decarbonize the economy. However, there is much to be done in other sectors such as transport, manufacturing, construction, agriculture, forestry, and waste management. The LEDS investigates options in all sectors and prioritizes actions for Vanuatu to achieve its goals to 2050.
The carbon footprint for Vanuatu is 0.0016%, and this is very little if you compare to the other parts of the world. But Vanuatu is taking the first step to address the greenhouse gas emission. One of the challenges that we face is the technical expertise in terms of mitigation and also adaptation. We need expertise in these areas. We need to grow the expert within Vanuatu. And secondly is the issue of finance. You know, we can have good strategies, good policies in place, but if we have no funding in place, that is another problem, because we can launch that policy and we can just decorate the shelf. Vanuatu has, as far as climate change is concerned, has mainstream climate change disaster risk reduction policy into other sectors. But just to roll that out is a problem that we are facing.
The Vanuatu LEDS is currently being developed through a national process with public consultation on the vision, pathways, and actions required, prioritizing mitigation and adaptation, investing in government capacity, and preparing for implementation.
It's a huge project, and Vanuatu is prepared to take this project and to do what it needs to be done. As a small island state, we also want to show the example to the world.
This video is the first in a series that will outline key topics for Vanuatu's long-term, low-emissions development strategy. They explore how Vanuatu will address the challenges and the pathways forward for a low-emissions, climate-resilient Vanuatu.